Welcome back to Revise and Resubmit, and welcome to another weekend book review. I'm Pavlov.
And I'm Nikita.
Today we're tackling The Barefoot Coach.
Yeah, and this one is, it's really something else, isn't it?
Definitely not your typical sports story.
No, not at all. We're talking Paddy Upton, a coach who's, well, he's kind of all over the place in the best way possible.
That's one way to put it. I mean, cricket, chess, hockey, you don't usually see that combo on a resume.
And that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. The guy's found success in areas you wouldn't normally think connect. It's almost like he's cracked some universal code of peak performance.
Right. Think about it. He helps India win the Cricket World Cup back in 2011.
A huge moment.
Then, fast forward to 2024, he's a key part of 17-year-old Gukesh becoming the FID world champion in chess.
Incredible.
And if that wasn't enough, just recently, he guides the Indian men's hockey team to a bronze at the Paris Olympics.
I mean, how does one person have such a diverse impact?
Exactly. That's the million-dollar question. How do the same principles that help street children thrive translate to success for elite athletes?
That's what we're here to figure out.
And thankfully, we have an expert here to help us navigate all this.
Well, I wouldn't say expert, but I've definitely been spending some quality time with the Barefoot Coach.
Perfect. So where do we even begin with a journey like this?
Well, I think you got to start with Upton's early influences. I mean, his story starts long before the stadiums and medals.
Okay, lay it on us.
Rugby, a PhD, and get this, working with street children in Cape Town.
Whoa, hold on. Street children and a World Cup winning cricket coach?
Yeah.
How does that even...
It's all about resilience. Upton sees this connection, this parallel between the mental toughness it takes to survive on the streets and what's needed in high-pressure sports.
So it's that grit, that adaptability, that never give up attitude.
Exactly. And you see this play out in a story from his backpacking days through Southeast Asia.
Okay, I'm listening.
So picture this, he arrives in Vietnam and suddenly his fancy cricket credentials mean nothing.
Ouch. Must have been a reality check.
Big time. He's just Paddy, not this accomplished coach.
Yeah.
And that's where the real learning began. He was forced to connect with people on a deeper level, valuing character over achievements.
It's a different world from professional sports, where winning is often everything.
Night and day. But it's this insight, this understanding of the human element that becomes a cornerstone of his coaching.
So how did he bring this to the world of elite athletes? Did he go soft on them?
Not at all. He still demanded excellence, no question about that. But there was a different approach, a focus on servant leadership.
Servant leadership. Okay, now you have to explain that one.
Basically, it's flipping the script. Instead of the coach being the big boss barking orders, it's about serving the team first.
Interesting. So more about empowering them, helping them grow, putting their needs before your own ego.
Exactly. It's about fostering a collaborative environment, making sure everyone feels valued and supported.
Sounds great in theory, but does it actually translate to results? I mean, wouldn't a tougher approach be needed to push athletes to their limits?
You'd think so, right? But the research Upton cites actually challenges that idea. He found that teams led by servant leaders actually perform better, even in areas like mental toughness.
Wait, really? So being supportive, creating that trust, it actually leads to more resilience.
You got it.
Huh.
It's this kind of paradoxical approach, and it all goes back to building the right environment, fostering that trust, that sense of purpose. It's all about creating the right environment. And you see this play out in all of Upton's work, whether it's cricket, chess, or even the Olympics.
You brought up chess earlier, and it just seems like such an individual sport.
Right.
How does this whole team-oriented approach, the servant leadership thing, how does that even work in chess?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. So with Gukesh, Upton didn't just focus on the chess strategy. He worked on building this whole support system around him.
So coaches, trainers, that kind of thing.
Exactly, even psychologists.
Oh.
It was about creating this ecosystem where Gukesh could really thrive mentally and emotionally, because even in individual sports, that support system can make all the difference.
Makes sense. But even with a great team, there's got to be a ton of pressure at that level.
Oh, absolutely.
How did Upton help Gukesh deal with that?
Well, this is where you see another key element of Upton's philosophy, his whole perspective on failure. He actually encourages athletes to embrace failure.
Embrace failure, really?
Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy, especially in those high-stakes environments, but he sees it as a crucial learning opportunity.
So instead of freaking out when you mess up, you learn from it.
Exactly. He even talks about reframing failure as data.
Data.
Yeah, like, okay, you messed up, so what? What did you learn from it? How can you adjust? Don't let it cripple you. Use it to grow.
So it's all about mindset, right? Shifting from this fear of failure to curiosity, wanting to learn.
Exactly. And this ties into his critique of the whole mental toughness model.
Oh, interesting. Because I've always thought of mental toughness as a good thing, especially in sports.
Of course, resilience is important, no doubt about it. But Upton argues that this hyper-focus on toughness, well, it can actually backfire.
How so?
Because it can lead athletes to suppress their emotions, ignore those vulnerabilities, and then they're less adaptable when things go wrong.
So it's like you build up this wall, this fortress around your mind, but then you get trapped in there.
That's a great way to put it. Think about it. A player makes a mistake, right? The old model says, shake it off, be tough. Upton's approach is more like, okay, acknowledge that frustration, process it, then figure out your next move. You have to embrace the whole range of emotions, not just the tough ones.
It's definitely a different way of thinking about it. It seems like he's promoting this more holistic approach to well-being, acknowledging that strength and vulnerability can coexist.
Exactly. And this leads us to another fascinating aspect of Upton's work. His focus on maximizing strength instead of fixing weaknesses. It goes against a lot of traditional coaching methods.
Yeah, I've always heard you need to identify your weaknesses and work on them.
Right, but Upton sees it differently.
So how does his approach work?
He believes true excellence comes from doubling down on what you do well, not just trying to be good at everything.
That's interesting.
And there's this great story in the book about Virender Sehwag, this explosive Indian batsman.
Okay, I've heard of him, yeah.
So Sehwag was known for his aggressive style, but he also had this tendency to get out to bouncers.
So like high risk, high reward type player.
Exactly. And most coaches would have tried to fix that weakness, make him more cautious.
Right.
But Upton did the opposite. He encouraged Sehwag to lean into that aggression, even against bouncers.
So they doubled down on what seemed like a weakness.
They did. And what happened? Sehwag went on to score a triple century, 319 runs in a single innings. They turned that perceived weakness into a weapon, something that terrified the other team.
Wow, that's incredible. Like turning a liability into an asset.
Exactly. It perfectly illustrates the power of focusing on your strengths, even if they come with some risk. Upton argues that trying to be well-rounded often leads to mediocrity. If you want to be truly great, you got to lean into those strengths. Embrace what makes you unique.
That Sehwag story is just, it's amazing. Really makes you think.
It does, doesn't it?
And this idea of, embracing those imperfections, playing to your strengths, it seems like that runs through all of Upton's work, even when he's dealing with teams, not just individuals.
Absolutely.
Speaking of teams, you mentioned earlier that Upton helped India's men's hockey team win bronze at the Olympics.
Yeah.
And hockey, it's such a different sport from cricket or chess.
Totally different demands, different dynamics.
So how did he apply those same principles in that context?
Well, one of the first things Upton noticed was that the Indian hockey team, they tended to perform best as underdogs.
Like they needed that extra push, that fire to really get going.
Exactly. But Upton knew relying on that underdog energy, well, it wasn't a long-term solution.
So how did he change their mindset?
He instilled this sense of proactiveness, this belief that they could control the game no matter who they were playing against.
So it's like he helped them rewrite their whole story.
He did. And one of the tools he used for this was the India at war metaphor.
I've heard about that. Sounds pretty intense, even a little controversial. How did the players react to that?
Well, to understand it, you got to look at the context. Upton saw that the Indian hockey team, kind of like the cricket team before them, they had this history of, well, not doing so well on the international stage.
So they carried the weight of those past failures.
Yeah. And Upton, he framed playing abroad as this battle. He wanted them to shed that baggage, embrace this warrior spirit, fight for their country.
So it wasn't just about winning games. It was about something bigger, something deeper.
Exactly. It was about instilling this sense of pride, this purpose. And you know what? It really resonated with the players.
It's amazing how a simple metaphor can have such a powerful impact.
It is. They started seeing themselves as warriors representing their nation, not just athletes.
But even with that warrior mentality, there are going to be setbacks. How did Upton deal with the inevitable failures that come with competing at that level?
Remember his view on failure. It's not a weakness, it's data. He encouraged them to analyze those losses, find the lessons, and use them to grow.
It's all about that growth mindset, right? Challenges are opportunities, not reasons to give up.
Exactly. And this connects to his emphasis on personal mastery. He believes true success isn't just about trophies and medals, it's about developing yourself, your self-awareness, your emotional intelligence.
So it's about becoming the best version of yourself, both on and off the field.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Barefoot Coach so powerful. It's not just a sports book. It's about navigating life, the challenges, the triumphs.
It really makes you question some things, doesn't it?
It does. Like, are we so focused on fixing our weaknesses that we forget to nurture our strengths?
That's a great question. And it's really a testament to Paddy Upton's ability to make us think, challenge our assumptions, and, inspire us to strive for something more.
Absolutely. The Barefoot Coach, it's a must-read for anyone who wants to unlock their potential or help others unlock theirs.
Well, there you have it, folks. From the streets of Cape Town to the world stage of sports, Paddy Upton's journey is truly remarkable. It's a testament to the power of resilience, of servant leadership, and ultimately, of embracing who we are, imperfections and all.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So if you're looking for a book that will challenge you, inspire you, and maybe even change the way you think about success, go check out The Barefoot Coach. And don't forget to subscribe to Revise and Resubmit on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for more captivating deep dives like this one. And if you're enjoying the show and want to support us in creating more insightful content, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Every contribution helps us continue this journey of exploration and discovery. Until next time, keep those minds curious, keep questioning, and keep revising and resubmitting.